Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dental Jobs Diaries, episode 7. I'm over the moon to have an associate dentist with Clyde Munro, Bruce Duguid, with us this afternoon. Bruce is going to be sharing his journey to date with Clyde Munro, including his relocation. So he'll be talking about that, amongst other things. Bruce, great to have you with us. How's your week been? How's it going?
Thanks very much, and thanks for that introduction. It's been going fine, actually. This has been a pretty good week. Nothing untoward, which is always quite nice. Everything according to plan, which is always quite nice.
What's really nice about this is I'm actually speaking to a dentist in a room. That's yeah, not in a bedroom or an office. So
I know. Well, I'm actually at work at the moment. This is lunchtime, so it's nice to have a break. And yeah, I've just thrown my lunch down my neck. So
well, I
get, get,
appreciate
get, the, get the priorities right.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bruce, you relocated, if I remember rightly, to work with Clyde. What's the journey been like?
It's been great, actually. I mean, it's been just over a year now since I've come down to work in Galashiels. I initially came down to work as a locum for Clyde Munro, which I was wanting to do some locum work. I'd been working in the same practice for a long time, and it was time for a change. And I'm not in my 20s anymore, and I'm kind of getting probably towards the twilight of my career, and thought it'd be just nice to go and work maybe somewhere completely different, maybe see a bit of Scotland that I'd never seen before.
Right, okay.
And opportunity came up to work down here. So I've come down. I've been very welcome after arriving here, and locum suddenly turned into associate, and the rest is, I guess, is history. It's been a really nice and easy transition for me to join another practice, which I think is always very daunting for anybody, particularly at my age. You know, we probably fear change a little bit more than younger members of our team.
Generation, yep. So
So, sorry.
but for people that are not familiar with locum, how's that transition from locum to an associate? How's that been, and what's the difference for viewers listening today?
Well, I mean, locum dentist, obviously, you're coming in, you're really not looking to look after a patient list for a long time. So um, you're very much just kind of maintaining the list. It's generally for, maybe for long-term sickness, for maybe a dentist that's left a practice, they've not had somebody to replace them, maybe somebody that's on maternity leave, and you come in and you're just maintaining their list for them while they're either waiting for the list or the position to be filled, or until they come back from maternity leave. And so it was a little bit unusual with the locum work down here in Roxburgh, because there was a couple of dentists had left, and so my list was a little bit hybrid. But however, still managed to maintain the list. Realised I was going to be here for a little bit of time, so then started to look after patients maybe a little bit more in depth. And then going then from that to the associates, it was really quite smooth. It was a very, very straightforward transition. As a locum, you get paid on a sessional basis, whereas as a locum, as an associate, sorry, you get paid on really what you do. Which is the model that most dentists are used to nowadays. But Clyde Munro would be very good in helping me to transition from one to the other. Which has been very, very helpful, and I'm grateful to them for that.
What key things would you say that Clyde have helped you with? Because the more podcasts we do, the more I hear about the kind of the support structure that Clyde Munro has to offer. What do you feel they've really been able to support you with, Bruce, in terms of your transition?
Yeah, I mean, really, the transition to come and work here, they were very flexible about the hours that I was able to work. I mean, obviously, I don't. I should say I don't live down here, but I'm guessing I'm partly resident down here now. I guess I'm here either 3 days a week or 4 days a week, depending on what week I'm working. So I'm guessing then I'm 4 days a week up in. I live up in Perthshire normally, and so they've been quite flexible in allowing me to work that slightly hybrid working pattern. They have been helpful in the transition from locum to associate, as I said, with the way that they've financially supported as well, which again is one of these things that I just asked the question and there was no pushback about that at all. It was embraced. Obviously they're keen to have people working for them, and so they helped me through that. And I'm just trying to think of other things that they did. I mean, the support staff as well have been excellent, and I'm now at the stage where I'm now tailoring my working pattern and my book, so to speak, in the way that I want to work, which is working out very well. I'm very pleased. Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here. I'm a year into this new position, and I don't know where the year's gone. Actually, it was only when I realised the date that I thought, gosh, that's a year since I've been here.
But that's sign. That's a sign of being, in a good organisation, good company, and more importantly, Bruce, enjoying what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, I obviously being around the block a few times, I've seen some of the things that have happened when sort of corporate, maybe I don't like referring to them as a corporate. I don't feel like I'm working for a corporate, and a lot of the corporate companies taking over, and there's lots of very big changes happen to practices. Very, very subtle changes, I think, happened to this practice when they took over. I think it was just little things around the edges, maybe a little bit of rebranding. But the actual running of the practice seems to be very, very smooth, and it reminds me more of a smaller practice than it does of a very large corporate. There's a lot of freedom in what you're able to do. So yeah, it's been really, really straightforward. I'm actually really relieved. As I said, as being somebody who's in the twilight of their career, it was maybe a bit daunting to come down, but no regrets at all.
No, that's fantastic to hear, because the practice you're with is Roxburgh Dental Care. Is that right?
That's right, yeah, which is in Galashiels, which is down in the Scottish borders. And again, it's an area that I never thought about at all. I didn't think. I mean, it's an hour. I'm an hour and 45 minutes away from home, and so I travel down on a very early on a Monday morning to arrive for a 8:30 start, and then I'll travel back up on a Wednesday or a Thursday evening. But it's an hour and 45. It's maybe 90 miles. But when I'm down here to work, which is great. I can just immerse myself in 3 days of hard work and then back up the road, back to the family.
As technology is evolving rapidly. It has evolved rapidly in recent years.
Yeah.
How has Clyde Munro supported you with the integration of digital technology to the practice, and how have you seen things in your years in dentistry? Because it's rapidly evolving, isn't it?
It certainly is. I qualified in 1996, and I remember somebody saying at that point that they didn't think that there would be any huge innovation in dentistry, and that the last huge innovation in dentistry was the air turbine handpiece, that compressed air drills. Right. And you kind of had in the back of your mind there was things came and things went, and things have come and gone over the last number of years, and you have things that are in vogue, and you have particular forms of treatment that are in vogue, and then they disappear off, and then they become something of an antique, and every now and again you'll see something you think, oh, I remember that when that was the in thing, but it's not now. But I mean, as far as the innovations in digital dentistry now, it's incredible. It really is. The first time I used any kind of digital dentistry was probably a couple of years ago, maybe about 3-4 years ago in another practice. And it was okay. I could see the benefits of it. I could never see at that point how I was going to work it into my daily work. It was something that would be wheeled out on special occasions for very special private patients and very special treatments. Coming here, and the Roxburgh practice is actually a digital centre. We have scanners, and I now routinely use a digital scanner. In fact, I've just before lunch there, I was using it for some scans for a patient, and I couldn't look back now. I can't now, since I've been here, remember the last time that I took standard, normal impressions, so to speak. Very, very straightforward. And it's nice to see that they've embraced it as much as they have, because it's now within the practice. It's now routine. It's not something that's extra special. We use it all the time, and it just works. And I thought I was particularly tech savvy and I like to know how things work. But with this, I've just decided I don't need to know how it works. It just works. And the success with it is very good as well. It's much more accurate than anything I've done previously. Things just fit. You get the odd thing that doesn't, but generally things just fit and it just works. It makes for a very smooth working day.
What are the patients, sort of fee? What's the patient's fee that? Because let's be honest, patients obviously come along the journey as well in terms of how things have changed, digitally, and they must be obviously quite wowed by it as well. And
it's funny. I mean, I'm still wowed by it. I still have, the scanner sitting there. I have the 3D image of their teeth up on the screen, and I'm flicking it around and turning it upside down and enlarging it and shrinking it. And I think sometimes I'm probably a bit more over enthusiastic about it than they perhaps are. But I tell you, one of the things is when you actually give them in their hand, maybe at the end of treatment before they leave, you give them in the hand their digital printed models. So a 3D printed model, and you say to them that this has actually been printed. Particularly maybe for some of the older patients, they then have to have a little bit of a think about that, and they then have to realise that there was actually no physical connection between the image that we took of their teeth in their mouth and this model that they have now in their hand. And you can see them trying to work out, how did that get from here to there when he didn't take any impressions of me? And that's all a bit strange. But so for them, I think it's good for them as well, in that they find it less intrusive. I think initially it probably takes a little bit longer than taking impressions as you would normally take, but now it's routine, it's quick, and for them it's a lot more comfortable. And they can see it as well. You've got the image up on the screen right there for them to see that this is what the inside of your mouth looks like. This is what we've done to it, and you can actually show them.
It is incredible, isn't it? And
it is.
Imagine sitting back in 1996 thinking what kind of technology you would have available to your disposal now.
Back in 1996, we were still using dial-up modems. Can you imagine how long it would take to drop these 3D files down the telephone line, and waiting for it to connect, and then getting interrupted when somebody has to use the phone line because somebody's got an incoming call, and it would all be really frustrating. But I mean, I remember that back in '96 there was nothing like that at all. I think we were just on the third generation of dentine bonding agents at that time. I think we're on about the fifth generation now. But so it's incredible. It really has. It's exciting for me seeing what's there now and what's going to be left behind. But for the young ones coming into dentistry, I mean, it's just night and day for them, and they're born.
Yeah. No, I mean, I had a podcast with one of your colleagues last month, and we were kind of joking because as we finished off the podcast, he said, "Lewis, when we next come on, it'll be me, you, and my robot, because robots will be coming." And that was
absolutely.
We had a bit of fun, but I mean, that could be the next stage of developments.
It could well be. Well, I mean, if you think about what's actually making crowns and bridges now, it is essentially a robot. These are getting milled out by machines. These machines are indeed just very small industrial robots that are creating them. I mean, it's nice in some ways. It's lovely to see the technology is amazing. But going back to '96 or thereabouts, I remember going to a large laboratory in Glasgow that made crowns, bridges, dentures, and the place being full of people. And there was one room in particular where they made all the crowns, and there was probably about 25, 30 technicians all sitting there, painstakingly painting porcelain onto these little crowns and firing them layer by layer and creating them. And I went back there probably maybe about 10 years ago and into the same building. And we went into that room, and there was now 2 people in that room and banks of these milling machines. So these machines were doing the work of 25, 30 people, and there was only really 2 people in the room who weren't essentially technicians. They were systems analysts,
Right. Okay.
just making sure. I mean, I don't think if you gave them anything to make, they would be able to do. I mean, forgive me, technicians in Glasgow, if you know who I am and you know who I'm talking about. Maybe you do, but to me it was a very old process compared to what it used to be. There was obviously a very artistic and physical process previously, whereas now it's a very much automated. And I think with some of the restorations that they make, they maybe are a little bit lifeless and a little bit lacking in that human touch.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to tell. You really would have had to see what some of these older technicians back in the day were making to compare what they were making to what's being made now. But at the end of the day, patients like it. They like the process. They like the quickness of it. And particularly now, if you've got one of these little industrial robots in your dental practice, which is actually able to make it for you while they sit and wait, that's a whole other thing as well. You know, you can have your crown made in a day, and off you go. You can have all sorts of things made in a day now. It's incredible.
It is, and do you know what? It's going to be even more exciting, isn't it? Seeing the future developments, because
absolutely,
it's going to be more change on the way, which is great. Innovation, as we say. But I mean, look, Bruce, for dentists, considering joining the Clyde Munro, what advice and insights, based on your experience, could you give? What are your thoughts?
I would think, put to the back of your mind everything that you've heard about corporate life, everything that you've heard about the corporates coming in, and see it as going to a practice that still maintains its own identity. I mean, obviously, corporates have been buying up lots of practices over the last number of years, and there's no harm in that. But with Clyde Munro, they really do still keep the essence of the practice. They don't roll. It's not as if there's a standard model for every location. It's all very local. So here down in Galashiels is completely different to the way that a practice in maybe the centre of Glasgow or maybe another practice in the centre of Edinburgh would run. It's run differently. We have probably a different mix of patient, particularly as we're out in a rural situation. So again, it's something that they don't want to change because it would probably not work. Whereas keeping things the way they are, which has been successful, then don't you? So from that point of view, don't fear the corporate. Don't feel that you're going to become a faceless name on a list, amongst another 400 or 500 dentists on the payroll. You're very much looked after. The opportunities that they provide as well with training is really good as well. I have to say, I've not been able to take up much of that so far because I've just been really busy, but I know there's a couple of things coming up which I am hoping to be involved in. In fact, I was asked to be involved in something in November, but unfortunately I won't be in the country at the time, so I can't do it. But it was nice to be. I've only been here a year, and it's nice to feel that somebody as ancient as me still has something to give back. So it was good to be asked. So anyway, getting back to your question, sorry, I'm go sideways all the time. There's nothing to be concerned about. It's quite there has been things like Facebook, other social media. You do tend to find that the corporates get a bit of a bashing. It's unfair, particularly Clyde Munro being a Scottish-based corporate. They understand more than anything else the way that Scottish dentistry works, and I would have no second thoughts about recommending anybody to come and work for Clyde Munro.
I mean, the one thing that stands out for me with Clyde Munro is the amount of investment with regards to the training that's being provided, with the centre.
Absolutely, in my hometown.
Yeah, yeah. But it's fantastic. It's amazing what they're doing, and it's brilliant for. It'll only be brilliant for new people coming in as well.
Absolutely.
Going
on to the centre, that was what I was going to be involved in. They're bringing in, I think, students from Dundee Dental School. They've got some students coming in to do some outreach training with them in the training centre, which is brilliant. I mean, it's so good to get involved with the next generation that are coming up and through, and letting them see what's available in practice. And there's more to life than just the practices they go to do their vocational training. And there is other practices out there that they can get involved in, and not to fear the corporates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lastly, Bruce, what do you find the most fulfilling? With Roxburgh Dental Care, and what you're looking forward to most in the years to come?
Well, I'll tell you what it is, and it's. I mean, obviously, I keep talking about this. I've been around the block a few times now. I've been kicking around since 1996, and when I went into dentistry, I went in to try and make people better, and in some ways, sadly, you see the way that some of dentistry has gone, and there's a lot of emphasis on cosmetics, a lot of emphasis on changing smiles, and and everybody wants straighter, whiter teeth, and that's lovely and great, and I think there is a place for that, and but it's not what I learned how to do. I learned how to make teeth better, and how to take teeth out, and how to do all of these basic skills that are so important. And one of the things that I have taken away most satisfaction from, and certainly in the last year, is that there's a lot of patients that I'm seeing who have not been seen for 3 or 4 years, who have got real problems, and it's just basic dentistry that's required. And I've been able to make huge differences to people just by doing very simple, very basic things. And the satisfaction in knowing that somebody's going to get a good night's sleep, or somebody is going to be able to eat again, or somebody's going to be able to just smile again because the missing front tooth they've had for 3 years has now been replaced. That, to me, is going back to the original joy of what my job originally involved, and not making somebody's front tooth ever so slightly straighter, which there's satisfaction to be had in that, but I think the real deep satisfaction comes down to being able to help people and make You're up there now.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. But I think the most important thing is confidence, isn't it? Giving people back their confidence.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, that's a very good word.
I suppose that's one of the key things. It must be so satisfying for you, watching a patient leave and being happy and having that confidence. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I would agree.
Which is brilliant. Well, listen, Bruce, it's been brilliant having you, on the show, and sharing all your experience. And I'm really pleased it's gone so well so far. A year in, great story, and it can be great for listeners as well who will be considering joining Clyde, if not now or in the near future. I hope you have a safe hour and 45 drive home, and you have a great weekend ahead. But I really appreciate you on the show, and I'm sure we'll talk again real soon.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Liz. Lovely to speak to you.